With the season winding down, it's time to check in with the fan base. So let's have a fan episode right here on Locked On Spurs.
You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs. We're doing the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Glad to have y'all back. Hope you're having a great work day, and thank you for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, KENS 5 Plus app, YouTube, Locked On Spurs newsletter. It's in the description below. You want to click on that link, and it's free. Sign up right now. Again, if you're on YouTube, the link's right below you. It says LO Spurs newsletter. Click on that link. You'll be good to go. Hey, what are we talking about today? Well, it's been a while, and with the season rapidly ending, I think it's time we would check in with the fan base. And we're going to have another fan episode right here on Locked On Spurs. For those of you who are not familiar with these episodes, basically we bring on a Spurs fan, and he'll represent the entire fan base on a couple of topics. And today's topics, you can see on YouTube, we're going to be discussing whether or not fans are upset with how the season worked out. Are they really PO'd? Is this it? Are they flipping tables? We're going to ask them that, and then ask them about next season. Just how high are the fan expectations for next season? If you saw yesterday's Locked On Spurs, you know that for me, it's pretty high. But we'll see what the Spurs fans have to say about that and more. I think it's about time we bring in that fan guest, because I'm pretty sure he has a lot to say about the state of the Spurs as of today. I was going to bring him on. First time here on Locked On Spurs, and by the way, not for lack of trying. Tried to get Daniel Castro to come on Locked On Spurs. Schedule's finally worked out, and I think this is the best way for you to come on, Daniel, because it's a fan episode, and I know a lot of fans they're not too happy with the fan base, are they? I mean, it's necessary. Right?
No, yeah, it's good place, Jeff. It's all over Twitter, even some within the factions that I hang out with, and those guys are got some opinions on it. So,
yeah, absolutely. Before we continue, make sure to follow Daniel on X. Want to give out your X handle right now?
Yeah, it's I have two handles here to offer: Castro Sun Solar on X, and as well as Ytech Intel INTL, WYTECINTL. And I'll go more a little bit later on. We can talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, again, he's with Castro Sun Solar and Ytech. Again, he'll talk about that later on this episode. A lot of good things going on for Daniel on his work life, and he's going to brag about it in a little bit. We'll let him brag about what he has cooking when he's not cheering on for the Spurs and everything. Hey, before we continue with the episode, Daniel, I just want to ask you a couple things. How long have you been a Spurs fan?
I go back all the way to like the 80s, Jeff. I'm old enough to remember what it was to see those games at the Hemisphere Arena. My parents were actually season ticket holders in the early 80s. And then I remember going to like some of the Golden State playoff games back at the Hemisphere, sitting in those, the block seating where you would pay like $2 just to go sit behind the pillar with the Hemisphere, and all the way through Alamo Dome. You see, I got my 99 flag. I actually, I'm old enough to have that on my car.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember that.
Going down Military and Commerce back then. So, yeah, it's long life. Even in the 80s when they were winning, late 80s when they lose, 90s, all the way through.
Absolutely. I remember those window flags. I think everybody had them. And then years later, people still had them on their car, and they were torn and beat up.
Yeah, that
was just shreds.
That one's getting pretty beat up as well. I'm not using it yet. I'll have to get the other ones. I'll have to get the big old huge flag and carry that like they do.
Daniel, I hope Spurs fans will be able to put flags on their windows soon, because we had another losing season again. Officially, the Spurs are out of any postseason play. That includes the play-in after they lost to the Blazers a few days ago, which kind of begs the question of why you're here, Daniel, is to represent the fan base. On the first question we're going to ask is, are fans really pissed off about how this season worked out? Are they livid? Are they upset?
I've seen a lot of people really get to that point where they're really wanting everyone out of the office, right? They want Pop, the front office, Brian Wright. I mean, probably the head usher, whoever they hold, not just because of what's been going on. There's been a lot of trials and tribulations. I think there is some glimmer of hope, but I think what we had expected since day one when Wemby got drafted, and when we saw that Castle turn into who he is, you just had this feeling even before Fox was added to the program. And now that you have De'Aaron Fox, you have a higher expectation to get there, to get closer. So you're hearing all these fans talk about trades, getting rid of certain players, looking at different coaches. I mean, even you had some information about, the former Grizzlies coach that just got let go recently, right? Like how soon they can get a person in here. Is Mitch Robinson, is Mitch doing a good job coaching? That's all the kind of stuff that people are upset about. And rightfully so to an extent, right, Jeff? It's good to be rooting for your team, but when they don't have the type of season that you want them to have, of course, we're not there day-to-day training with them, right? And I think there's a lot of stuff that goes on that we really don't know too much behind the scenes, but I don't think it's for a lack of trying, but it does seem like towards the end, especially when Wemby went out, right? Hopefully everything went well in his surgery. I know you and Dr. talk about that. I saw a podcast recently with De'Aaron Fox was talking about how his finger was really getting him. Mm-hmm. And you just want that consistency to be here. We haven't had that consistency since, 2014, if you will.
Yeah. And one thing for sure, they've been consistent on missing the postseason. And I think that's, for me, I spoke about this on yesterday's show, was that I'm done with this individual player development. I need to see team development now. And I need to see them take the next leap, and that's making the play in. And we'll talk about that later. Yeah. But you mentioned collectively Spurs fans are asking for heads to roll. Do you feel that Spurs fans are a little bit understanding, considering Wemby went down, Fox was out, Pop had his stroke, and it's just been kind of a weird season? I mean, do you think some fans are forgiving about that?
I think there are some fans, Jeff, that are having that in consideration, that really feel like, okay, wait a minute, we've had a couple of bigger blows dealt to us than we expected. Especially someone like Pop, Hall of Famer, most wins in NBA history, right? First ballot as soon as the day he decides to retire, right? That's pretty much. But you have someone like Coach Mitch who comes in here, tries to take over, and you see some success. And so you feel like, okay, well, wait a minute. Maybe we are on the right track. Maybe we did need some new blood, right? And then it comes back and it turns out to be kind of what we saw the season before a little bit, right? Are we really getting to where we need to be? Is that coaching staff enough? But I think also some fans don't realize this, Jeff, and you know this like these coaching teams, there's coaches on there, right? Like 12, 20 coaches on the Spurs bench. There's defensive coaches, there's offensive coordinators, right? Like it may not necessarily be the coach all the time as much as it's the offensive coordinator. And the Spurs do a pretty good job of not telling who it is, or at least telling us the public who it's not, So we don't have that opportunity to be like some of my friends who love the Dallas Cowboys or hate to let's go with they know who the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator is, and we don't have that luxury of knowing that here. We know who shooting coaches are, we know what strengthening coaches are, but we don't have that intel. But you see something come on, you see Castle bring it up, you see Wemby, them working together. They weren't playing with the experiments like they did with Sohan, but you can see how that helped out. And so you had some glimmer of hope. And a lot of these fans, and I'm going to say it right now, and I'm going to get called out, and this is probably why I took a long time not to meet up with you. But a lot of us has been spoiled. Some of the older guys like myself know what it is to go through losing seasons. I mean, who wore the number 21 better than Tim Duncan? But
oh yeah,
Dominique Wilkins for that one season, 96, 97. And he was
or Sidney Green.
We've had some, but I think this season, these last several seasons when Wemby came in, I was talking to this with a friend of mine. It kind of reminds me about the year that Robinson came in. Elliott, we weren't doing that great, and they didn't have the social media aspect like we do now. All you knew is that Bob Bass was firing people left and right, trying to get people. And you can see some of the same building of that team. But we had years with Rod Strickland, Sean Elliott, and Willie Anderson that didn't amount to anything, right? And now we became the organization that a lot of teams out there in the league want to be, and other sports leagues want to be like, right? Like the Spurs are just that good from top to bottom. And because we haven't had that success, you got people who are just ready to flip the table and,
Yeah.
throw the basketball at the screen.
Yeah, and I can understand why most Spurs fans are upset about how this season went. I mean, sure, it's not officially over, but for all intents and purposes, it is over. I mean, there's like 4 or 5 games left in the season. But and I understand because this season there's a lot of expectations. Wemby year 2, it's who's this young guy, Steph Castle, that's coming out of the gate strong. And then, are they going to trade for another player? It looks like it might be Fox.
Yeah.
There's Devin Vassell coming back, Keldon coming back, Sohan coming back. At that time, Popovich is back. And, I get it. I understand why Spurs fans had expectations. And remember, they come from a 22-win season last year.
Yeah.
So there was nowhere else to go but up.
Yeah.
And although technically they have won more games than last season, it just feels like, again, just another deflated season. Do you think they would have made at least a play-in if they were 100%?
I honestly do feel like they would have made the plan at 100%, and even before Fox came in. But with Fox, I think we would have got in a little bit higher on that hole for the play-in. And what I had hoped with that, and this is like, again, the glimmering season to come, was if they got a taste of that feeling like of a playoff game, they would want more of it. I know Wemby would. I'm sure because he took a team from 0 to hero pretty quickly. Steph Castle comes from a winning organization. Even guys like Keldon, right? Playing for Kentucky. These guys all have had some type of taste for big dogs in their respective collegiate careers, and now professionally, it's not where they want to be. But you can tell that as soon as they get that taste, it's, I mean, the sky's the limit, Jeff, really. I mean, I could be like LeBron and say not 1, but 2, but 3, but 4, 5. I mean, that's how cocky as Spurs fans can be, especially when we know we have that team. But when you see success from teams like Oklahoma, Houston, that have had the same, even heck, Cleveland, right? Who thought they were going to be either one? So it's just crazy to see the way things have changed. And hopefully, I think my expectations, I honestly saw us winning about 40 games in the beginning. I kept it quiet. But, we're not there. We're close. And I get what you're talking from, Jeff. Who wants to see a win that has some type of a loss with a meaning? Nobody likes it. But you can see how we played against Cleveland, who's a number 1 seeded team in the East. Us, right? Like we held them. And then you see how they handle other teams. It's just a weird dynamic. And so I think for those reasons, we get so caught up in, like, we have all this great talent. We have the great facilities, but this whole tanking discussion is out there, right? Because it's what a lot of fans want to hear and talk about when you hear in the media. And so it just stays in your head. And you got people saying, oh, we're just going to tank it. I love sending clips to Chris Leha from MCS. Showing him those 8 and 9-year-olds are going to graduate in 2035. Scored prospects, prospects. That's where those picks are at. But we have all this collateral, right? We have the picks, we have the teammate. I mean, even if you're not looking, some of the players that are staying on here, right? We have some of that movement, right? But one of the things we do have is some of these guys are on good contracts, right? But like you said, how good are those contracts if they're not really producing for us at the end?
That's what he is Daniel Castro. He is representing the fan base on this episode of, well, I should say a fan episode of Locked On Spurs. And he is still going to be in the hot seat because we got a lot more to ask him. When we get back, we're going to ask him the big question now: just how high are expectations from the fan base heading into next season? Is it astronomical? Is it unreasonable? Is it fair? We'll find out in just a few minutes. Once again, with Daniel Castro of Castro Sun Solar and Whitech. First, everybody, I want to talk to you about Robinhood.
With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up today at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold LLC.
This is Homer Simpson, and you are listening to my favorite Spurs podcast, Locked on Spurs. Donuts.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs fan episode edition. Representing the fan base today is Daniel Castro of Castro Sun Solar and Whitech International. He's going to brag about that in just a few minutes. And you may ask him, well, why is he here? Because it's a fan episode. He's repping the fan base on just pretty much the pulse of the fan base, really. And he pretty much summed up in segment one that, most fans, not all, but most fans are pretty ticked off about how the season ended, was going to end. We all know how it's going to end. It's official now. No postseason play whatsoever, not even playing. But now the big question comes up is just how high are expectations from the fans heading into next season? And I got to tell you, Daniel, I think they're going to be pretty high. If this team comes in at 100% health, Wemby, Fox, Castle season 2. Who knows what's going to happen with Vassell, Keldon, and Sohan, but let's just for argument's sake say they're back. And then you get yourself a draft pick, and if they keep that high pick player on the roster, it's likely going to be, a high first rounder, then, oh boy, they better produce. I am banking on, Daniel, that fans are going to be in pitchforks next season. Worse than probably this year or the previous season, if they don't at least make the play-in. First of all, tell us how fans are thinking right now. What are they feeling as Spurs head out of this season and get ready for the new season?
I think a lot of us are already looking to what we're going to be doing going fishing, right? This season already. It's eliminated from playoff or playing contention. I think that we have a great opportunity to really look forward to next season. Is it going to be a long next several months going into June and July? Yeah, it is. But as soon as summer camp starts and the season starts, I think you're right. I think we know what we're going to have. We're going to have top players coming back at top form. I think the guys are going to come back with a vengeance. You get that extra piece of the top. Let's say we do keep a top 5 pick. Right. Look what we did with Steph. Look what we found in Steph Castle. I mean, just an amazing, I think, beyond expectations from what people believed with a guy. And Jeff, I love Steph Castle because Castle and Castro mean the same thing. So it's being Campbell's dominant Castle and Son. So, but this kid, and I mean that with full respect, this guy has everything. I mean, you haven't seen a player like this since Kawhi. With us. I mean, there's a lot of similarities there, and I try not to put that on him because I don't want that bad juju with him, and I don't want people's or family members calling us or trying to hide him either. But I think this guy is up there. You're right. I think this is where you put that image of the Simpsons with their pitchforks and flames going through the streets.
Commerce on the street. There's no parades or honking, or it'll be bucket sports on Commerce.
Yeah, it's going to look like a Philadelphia championship in the streets of San Antonio at some point, right? So, I mean, I think we all want to get back to the things that were consistent in April. Yeah. Fiesta San Antonio and Spurs playoff games. I mean, that's what we want.
Yeah, and look, if you really think about the play-in, there's really, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 4 slots. So that's some wiggle room for the Spurs to get in next season. But I think at bare minimum, they got to get the play-in next season.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's the final spot in the play-in tournament, just get in it. But because I think there'll be wiggle room from other teams that are declining right now. Dallas, who knows what happens with them? I think they may be resurging because you get Kyrie Irving back and Anthony Davis, but I mean, the Pelicans, where are they going? Sacramento, they may blow it up. Sabonis, rumblings about him not happy there. DeMar DeRozan. So there's one team ready that could fall. How much better is Portland going to get? Don't know. The Pelicans, they look like they're ready for a rebuild. So there'll be some wiggle room for the Spurs to move up.
For sure.
I really believe that especially if this team comes in at full throttle, man, no injuries, good to go, ready to play, we're on the road back to some success. And I think that's the first building block to team development next season. Just follow the progress, kind of like you mentioned the Cavs. Cavs worked their way up, and now look where they are. Look at the Thunder. Got into the play-in, they made it a little bit into the playoffs, and now look where they're at. Yeah. The Magic, the Pistons, the Rockets. We got to see the Spurs collectively make those leaps now. Not just individual player talent, and that's good and all because that leads to the team getting better. But now we need to see all this come together. All the pieces have to fit together next season to take that next leap. Do you think Spurs fans? Well, let me rephrase that, Daniel. Let's put it this way: how much does the coaching spot change anything next season? If they bring back Mitch, if Pop comes back, if they go out and hire somebody out from the outside in, do you think that could throw a wrench into next season?
I think if there's some changes that come in, if it's a new coach from another organization that comes in here that's not within the Spurs org, I think there's a bigger wrench, and I think more people are going to be even more upset about that. Right? They're going to be trying to get the Spurs out of San Antonio at that point. They're not associated with it anymore. But you're right. The expectations have to be high because the expectations before the past has been the best. We have been the best organization. We need to go back up to prominence. And I heard, Chris Paul talking after a game recently, like the game before last. He was talking about how when they lost, some of these teams aren't coming to play the Spurs like they used to come play the Spurs, right? And I alluded to that fact. And it's true. We're not the old Spurs. We're just the Spurs. We're not the Spurs. And so as soon as we can get back to the Spurs and the way we have as fans believe our team can do it, it's going to be so much better and greater. Coaching it's gonna be scary. Yeah, we don't know what happened. I hope Pop recovers well and is able to come back and do that. And it would be a nice little swan song and we're gonna leave at the end on the top note, just like Big Dave did in what was it, 05, his last
he went out as a champion.
Yeah, and so I think if we can get Pop out there, I know we can't win the championship next year. I'll be realistic, but I'm not going to be as delusional as those fans from the Cowboys have been there. So
Philly fans, you gotta love them. Yeah, gotta love them.
So I will tell you that for the most part we can get and do everything that we need to get to be there. Sorry for the call. Busy stuff.
That's probably the Spurs looking for the new coach and Daniel Castro, right? They're looking for you, Daniel.
Jeff, I will tell you that I coached my daughter's CYO basketball league one game, and I was 1-0. So, and I did dress up like the NBA coaches, like Larry Brown, and I was just a cow. Yeah, I had
something. Get jacket and tie. Look at you, Daniel.
But like me fun break. It is what it is.
But it really does sound like I think the fans are going to have high expectations. But I just think it should be reasonable, high expectations. And you said it yourself. This next year, they're probably not going to win the title. But if you can get into the play-in, maybe, knock on the door on the 6th seed. And that's fast. Yeah. You get like a number 7. That'd be a huge success.
Yeah.
I think next season they can do it. I think this is going to be a scary team. We just had a small sample size of Fox and Wemby of 5 games played, but in this sample size, it was a potent offense, potent defense. We see the numbers, and then think about this too. The Spurs are, you know what? Hold that thought. Let's take a break because I got something to say. Let's take a break. When we get back, we'll continue this fan episode right here on Locked On Spurs, talking about the state of the Spurs and more, how our Spurs fans feeling as the season is winding down with Daniel Castro of Castro & Sons Solar and Whitech International. But first, let's talk about BetterHelp. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What are some of your relationship green flags? We often hear about the red flags we should avoid, but what if we focus more on identifying the positive sides in our relationships, those green flags?
If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody that green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a friendship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy helps you develop healthy boundaries, improve your communication skills, empowers you to set clear expectations, express your needs in relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict in ways that strengthen your connections rather than break them down. BetterHelp does this, and it makes it easy by offering online therapy with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from. And if you need to switch therapists, you can do so at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA.
As the new leader of the Decepticons, I command you to subscribe to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And we're back right here on Locked On Spurs, a fan edition. We're talking with Daniel Castro of Castro Sun Solar, White Tech International, and possibly the new head coach of the Spurs, because if you're in the second segment, he was getting phone calls already here at that time. So did the Spurs brass call you, Daniel?
Yeah, it was RC, and just guessing whether or not I was trying to get solar panels, but they already had solar panels at the Victory.
Okay. Well, they heard about your undefeated coaching record, so.
Well, it's not something I like to brag about, but I do tell everybody I meet was 1-0 in a second graders.
You know what, Daniel? You're like Tim Duncan. He's undefeated as a head coach. There you go. Again, we're both speech. In the both same ways. There you go. Once again, we're with Daniel Castro on our fan episode right here on Locked On Spurs. Here's the best time to catch up with the fan base as the season is winding down pretty fast to get their thoughts on how the season went. And pretty much it is officially over. No postseason, no play-in. These last games are going to be really for nothing, really. Just hopefully nobody gets hurt, Daniel. And Castle, I think he already did lock up the Roy. I think the Rookie of the Year is his. So just everybody else is just really auditioning to stay on the club next season and beyond. All right. So before the break, we're talking about why the team could be very successful next season. And I was about to talk about Steph Castle. I think the big thing that's going to help the Spurs boost him in that direction is him getting a starting job. If you turn the keys over to him and Fox and Wemby, and let's just say Vassell, is in the mix too, and let's just say Barnes is there, that's a potent starting unit. And I think that's the direction the Spurs got to go. And unfortunately, I think that might also mean the end of CP3 in San Antonio. What do you think about that, Daniel? What are our fans saying? Our fans demanding that Castle get the nod to start next season?
I think the fans are right to want Steph to start, right? But I always look at it like this too, Jeff, and I think some of your guests have mentioned in the past, it's who's finishing the game that matters, right? And I think CP3 has a lot of stuff, and the guy can still hoop. He's proved it. As an old guy, seeing another old guy play, that gives me a lot of courage. Now, I can't go out there and do the same thing he does because I'll be like that fan from Atlanta that tears his MCL or ACL, which can do all kinds of stuff. But Steph Castle taking over the mantle and being that silent leader that we all know that he can be. Wemby being a demonstrative guy. I think De'Aaron Fox has a lot of spirit in him too. That Vassell is showing that he can come in and somewhat be consistent if he can continue to be healthy and strong enough for the season, which I think by them playing more games together would be an amazing fit. I mean, Jeff, Wemby and Fox haven't really even practiced together.
That's true.
They really haven't. And for it to be successful in that little small tidbit of time that they had, I mean, come on. And what was that? What was it, like his game in Atlanta where he scored those 30 points and he just took over. And you could see where that, these guys have not had the same type of players next to each other beforehand, and Wemby hasn't had a point guard like Fox. He hasn't had someone like Castle who is now developing even more as the season progressed, right? And then, I love watching the games even when they're losing, Jeff, but watching those HEB Wemby commercials is making me miss him even more and just realize how much of an important part to this team he is, if not the main piece, right? And so man, if they practice, I mean, that whole Spurs practice summer, it's going to be lovely to be a fly on the wall in that.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see once the season, all 82 games are done, for the Spurs. I really want to see like the numbers on the impact of like how the Fox and Castle combo worked out, how Castle and let's just say Vassell worked out, just to really see how potent this team can be with him in the starting unit. And I think they're gonna have to. He's forced the Spurs coaching staff to throw him out there next season with a started unit. If it means saying goodbye to Chris Paul, or maybe Chris Paul accepts a secondary role off the bench, I mean, that's cool. But I don't think Paul is here for the long-term rebuild. He was just here for a Band-Aid stop. I would love for him to come back. I hope he does come back. But the Spurs, they got to move forward. And moving forward means the future, and the future is Steph Castle, Fox, and Wemby. They got to start with those three guys. Daniel, before we let you go here, just what grade would you give the Spurs this season, and what do you think the fan grade would be?
I'll tell you the fan grade first. I think the fan grade is below F, whatever, you can get there. I think this if a lot of people don't hear something. Yeah, I mean, I'm probably getting. I'm pretty sure there was live right now. I get some texts on me right now. But listen, I'll give them a solid D, because they had a lot of stuff coming at them. I could give them a C, but there was still some inconsistency throughout the year, right? And who's to say that we had that success at the end of last season too, right? We knocked down the number one team at that point, which was Denver, and they went to a lower seed. I mean, the guys have it, but was that team ready to play the Spurs, right?
Yeah.
And so as you see it dwindle down, it wasn't as consistent as we probably wanted it to be. Even with and D's still passing, right? I think it's been 20+ years since I've been in school, so I don't know. But yeah, I mean, you got Steph Castle here. If you keep Harrison Barnes, Smith, Fox, Wemby, my daughter's favorite, Sohan. And I know there's a lot of people that are not going to like that, but I mean, there's a great core of team guys who just love playing. They love hooping. They love playing together. It shows that they do. I mean, even big guys like Mamu, you want someone like that on the team. Keldon, who's just a spitfire of a guy who loves and embraces San Antonio and for what it is. I mean, him and Mamu I think are two big Spurs guys. Like that's Spurs culture right there.
I think Keldon Johnson, if he stays in Spurs uniform, I think he may have pushed himself into getting his jersey retired.
Sure.
I think he's pushed himself there. Yeah. Yeah. If he stays for the entire length of his career, but that's a whole other article. That's a whole other topic. That's regarding the Spurs jerseys hanging up at the AT&T. But the point is you're right. This team has a nucleus. It's ready to go. It just needs to just stop having bad breaks. From coaching, getting the stroke to Wemby to Fox, and whatnot. But so you gave him a D, and you said the fan grade would be below F.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I think I give him a D plus. I'll bump it up a little bit. I do give them some wiggle room because of losing Wemby and Fox, and nobody saw the pop thing, and that shook. I really think it shook the luster, to its core. But just even with Wemby was playing, you still saw them get out rebounded. You still saw them get stomped from time to time. So, I really cannot say that, they're a C plus, that's a passing, I can't. I got to give them a D plus because there's still a lot room to improve heading into next season. As far as the fan grade, I think fans are right there with the F or below. Fans were not happy at all with the way this season goes. And he is Daniel Castro of Castro Sun Solar and YTech International, representing the fan base right here on Locked On Spurs. Before we let him go, we need to know all about Sun Solar, YTech. What's cooking in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, thanks. First of all, Jeff, thanks for having me on here. Finally, I'm glad our schedules were.
Again, everybody, yes, we've tried to get Daniel on several times.
Yeah, several times. We've tried it for the last couple of years, but I'm really glad that I was able to get on today. Let me talk about Castro San Solo really quick. That's a main thing that I do, but I like to help people save money, especially with uncertain times like right now. It's beneficial to help people save money. If you're paying, and I'll help you the right way. If you don't need to get solar, you don't need to get it, but I will at least get you a free audit to make sure that you can and do need it. If you don't, if you're paying less than $200, you probably don't need it. If you're paying more, reach out to me. Right now, this is what my main passion is, Jeff. I'm here at YTech International now. It's a senior account sales executive, and basically we have in-building cellular coverage stuff. But my main focus for this is to help protect a kid like my little girl Gabriella, who goes to a school right down the road from where I'm at right now, with gunshot AI detection, with the services that we offer to prevent something that happened like in Uvalde years ago. And we got a couple of things that we're looking at. We got a big seminar coming up on the 24th for some new investors, because we're going to wait to NASDAQ pretty quickly. So that's really important to me right now, because I want to make sure that our kids are left here with their kids to be able to have the same experience that we did growing up. And that's really important. So if anybody wants to know more about that, you can, send us a DM at YTech INTL. That's WYTEC INTL. And X, I still call it Twitter, as well as like on Blue Sky and all the other socials. And, if they're interested about that, learning more about that, they can reach out to me as well.
Yeah, and also follow him on X as Castro San Solar. If you need help with solar options, he can definitely help you with that as well. And of course, YTech International, they have an X account, so go follow them right now. Again, he's at Castro San Solar, and then YTech International, follow them as well. By the way, you and Harrison Ingram have something in common. You both still call it Twitter. You supposed to? Yeah.
Well, I'm a lot older than Harrison Ingram to remember what Twitter was as a little blooper. Before tweet was even a verb.
I remember Follow Fridays. Remember that?
Yes, Follow Fridays.
Yep. Remember that? Yeah. That was hilarious. Or when you couldn't retweet stuff, you had to literally type in the word "re"
like several whole bells.
Had to literally type that.
Oh my god, it doesn't show it on my current one, but yeah, I remember getting on there back in like 2000 something, 8 or 6. I don't know. Oh man,
what was it? 240.
I feel like I'm gonna sound like a curmudgeon old man already, just talking about all right.
I want my 240 back. Give me back my 240 characters. Back in the day, those learned how to shorten words.
Yeah. Yeah, we ruined the kids now for that, because they have all the acronyms and stuff, but we don't.
They definitely do. Daniel, thank you for finally hopping on Locked On Spurs to represent the fan base. Let us know your opinion. What the fans are thinking about on the status of Spurs as the season winds down. That's what we do here is Locked On Spurs, everybody. We give the fans a chance. We give them the open mic, basically, and they get to let it all out. We give it as a therapy couch moment for pieces, just to let the pressure out for a little bit. Again, he is Daniel Castro San Solar, and YTech International. Give them a follow right now on X. Everybody else, we thank y'all for making Locked On Spurs your first listen each and every day. Free and available wherever you get podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Kinspy Plus app, YouTube. Locked On Spurs newsletter is in the description below. Click that link. It literally says LO Spurs newsletter. Then you click the link, and then there you go. You sign up for free right now. We'll be back tomorrow talking all things silver and black. Mr. Castro, a familiar face might be coming back tomorrow. Do you know who it is?
Well, there's a couple of people that you got. I don't know.
Yeah. Take a wild guess who that might be.
Is he the guy from Houston?
It's the guy from from Conroe. He did some cool.
Yeah.
We have Mike Jimenez on deck for tomorrow. I know, everybody, but we're going to be discussing the silver and black. That's all that matters, right? Silver and black talk. We'll get you covered tomorrow.
You should have had me after him so I could be a palate cleanser for.
I still have this wild idea in the off season to have like you or Bear County from Bear County Social Apparel, or Leha from MCS, to have a roundtable wherever he just cooks, like just like that. It's like go wild on them.
That'd be gold.
That'd be gold. Yeah. So Sith Elias as well, man. I think he would just bury him. But again, I gotta start thinking off season already, people. So I gotta let the time. I gotta start thinking about how we're gonna pass the time before the new season begins. But that's for a whole other show, and hopefully it does happen. But again, Mike Jimenez will be on tomorrow to discuss all things silver and black. We'll figure out some topics as the season winds down. But for Daniel Castro, I am Jeff Garcia. We're gonna put a lock in this episode of Locked On Spurs.